Hello and welcome to Left Coast Live. It is Tuesday, October 15th. I am your host, Deter McBusiness, joined as always by the one and only Stat Pat Stateless Patriot. We are coming to you talking about national politics. We're going to do some local stuff later in the episode. But for now, we have got to address the enormous elephant in the room, Stat Pat, which is that Michael Moore and Bill Maher and a lot of other luminaries might have called this race way too early because the polls are doing what they usually do in
hmm
October, which is tighten up.
Yeah, I saw there was sorry about that. There was a piece that Michael Moore put out about you know things that Biden can do now that he has this newfound power according to the Supreme Court. And I mean, the purpose of it is to give the Democrats a boost and actually do some good for the country while he's still in office. But whether or not it's proper to do them, like, say, before the election is another story, because it's like the Democrats are running on a lot of the issues that he brings up. If Biden were to tackle a lot of these things, it will definitely dampen momentum. So, not really sure if doing it before the election was a smart move. Let alone, I don't think Biden's really going to even touch
Do
any.
anything.
Yeah, like, now that he has that power, he's too
He's already
modest
said
for
when he
something like
got
that.
that power that he wasn't going to use it.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's exactly what he said. Um, yeah, no. I mean, Bill Maher's opinion is worth its weight in dog shit nowadays,
Yep.
but I do respect Michael Moore.
Yep.
Um, I do think his instincts are correct. I mean, the polls are one thing, but
He shouldn't be
looking,
calling it though publicly.
yeah, not. I mean, even aside from the polls,
The demographics have changed a lot since 2016. I mean, I
of
know he
course.
was right about a lot, but he made one big call, and
Mhm.
everyone's acting like he's the oracle at Delphi. And I mean, this is a flawed man. Like how many? There are a lot of
Sure.
Super Bowls in recent memory, that went the other way.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, Michael Moore has basically called, I think, every election for the past couple decades or something like that. He accurately said in 2016 that Donald Trump was going to win, and
yeah, I
he
know
was
that's what he's,
routinely.
but that's the only
Yeah,
hard one. That was the only real hard one. Everyone else was on Alan. Okay, so what are your thought on Alan Lichtman and his 13
that's another
keys?
good point as well. Alan Lichtman, eh, I think he was saying he finally made his determination. It took him a little bit. It took him a while because, of course, the race changed. Um, Kamala Harris stepped in for Biden as the head of the ticket, and so some revisions need to be made. But recently, yeah, I think he said that she met 7 or 8 of the keys, meaning she's going to be the next president of the United States. And
Right.
he's gotten every election except Bush Gore, which
Should
actually,
have
I
gone the
mean,
other way. Right.
yeah, but he did say Gore was going to win, and after the fact of the matter and everything, it was found that Al Gore actually did win. So, it's going to be really close. That's just when it comes down to brass tacks, it's
Well,
going to
let's
be
talk to
way
people
too
about
close.
let's show people the polls
Hmm.
because we're big on the polls on this show and we want to make sure we're covering our bases. So there has not been since the New York Times did one 5 days ago, which has Trump solidly in the lead. This is Arizona, but the New York Times
Yeah.
was biased towards Trump last time. But that is a
Hmm.
huge. Those are huge numbers. Trump +5, Trump +6. Let's go ahead and call
Right.
Arizona for Trump. Let's do the little guy, Nevada, the neighbor.
Hmm.
And Nevada, Harris +1, Trump +3. All right, Harris +1. This
It
could.
shows Donald Trump funded that that poll right there that has
Oh
him
yeah,
up.
the Fabrizio.
Right.
Um, but Harris +1 according to a red poll. So Nevada, whatever,
Right.
no big deal. Let's do Wisconsin. Okay, so recent polling, Patriot polling, Trump +1. That's worrisome. And remember,
Right.
Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania have gone the same way since the end of the Cold War.
Patriot
So
polling, just the name alone sounds a little
sounds
biased.
conservative, yeah.
Hmm.
But it's a toss-up. I mean, whatever it is, it's within the margin of error.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
So
is disconcerting. Go
right.
ahead.
So a few things also to consider is the fact that since the 2020 election, a lot of the older demographic passed away due to the
Yes.
COVID pandemic. So a lot of them, and like if you can count on the old people for anything, the elderly demographic is that they're much more reliable
They're going to
voters
vote.
than young people. Yeah. So that's definitely going to play in the Harris's favor. Not to mention, um, obviously Roe v. Wade, and if enough movement is made or at least signaled on Israel Gaza, then she could maintain like at least a modicum of younger energy, and that could sway you know the it could sway the election her way. Not to mention I've a lot of these pollsters and a lot of the way they're conducted. I don't think that um, the youth vote, like generally more broadly, is as considered in these polls, so to
Well, the
speak.
youth
I think
vote
we
never
saw the same
shows
thing.
up, man. The youth
Right?
vote never
Yeah.
shows up.
Yeah.
It's the
Well,
holy
of
grail
course.
of American politics on the left is the youth vote, but
Yeah.
we can't get people there.
Yeah.
This is Pennsylvania, by the way, which is the most optimistic of the big three.
That's
The
really
big
good.
three being Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. This is the New
That's
York
really good.
Times recent poll
That's
has
good.
Harris comfortably in the league. This is what Arizona looks like for Trump, is based on
Right.
this New York Times poll. So this New York Times poll would have you believe that Harris is going to win Pennsylvania and Trump wins Arizona. Let's take a look at North Carolina and Georgia. North Carolina, Fabrizio, we know that that's, yeah, Trump, Trump, Trump. Fabrizio, Emerson College is Trump +1. So it's a margin of error state. Everything's a
Yeah.
margin of error state, technically, but
Right. All the swing
Arizona,
states. Yeah.
Arizona and Pennsylvania look pretty comfortable for for Trump and Kamala, respectively. The Georgia is the last one.
Yeah. That's gonna be a very interesting one.
Trump +2, Trump +3,
Hmm.
Redfield and Wilton, Trump +1. Emerson was even. Yeah, see, Harris was doing well back in earlier in the month. They got to go.
Hmm.
They changed their rhetoric, man. They went away from "we're not going back," and they
Hmm.
also have like toned down. They keep talking economics,
Hmm.
even though that's not their. They keep trying to like deal with their weaknesses instead of emphasizing their strengths.
Yeah.
And I mean, going after the assumption, because that's all it is an assumption that Republicans are better at the economy than Democrats. You have to go right at it, and they're not doing that. Democrats are not known for tackling problems head on.
Yeah. No kidding. A couple of comparisons you can make is they are doing like a more of like a media blitz right now. Kamala Harris is out there doing more interviews, making more appearances. She's a podcast or talks or whatever, and so is Trump. He did skip the 60 minutes thingamajig, but did talk to Fox News, and I think we'll be reacting to that shortly. But from what I've seen, I mean, because Harris does have her flubs. Like the 60 minutes interview was not very
Weak.
good. Yeah. But apparently, the Call Her Daddy podcast is apparently a pretty progressive and feminist podcast listened to by a lot of millennials and Gen Z. And I believe, because I haven't heard any clips from it, but from what I've heard, she did get a really positive reception
Yeah,
on
well, it's too
there.
bad she didn't do that on 60 Minutes, man.
Right?
And I
Yeah.
got to tell you,
Well, I mean,
there was a lot of bias cover. We should talk about that because we got copyright taken down for both
oh,
the 60 Minutes and the View interview. All
yeah,
right,
that
the
was
View was a
frustrating.
puff piece. The
Yeah.
View, I'm not gonna like take seriously,
Sure.
and 60 Minutes is really important. And I felt like she gave a very soft performance. I did not think she was strong on
It
60 Minutes.
it reminds me of the CNN interview because who watches 60 Minutes?
Right.
A bunch of retirees, like the more so the older demographic before they go to bed. And I feel like that was, I mean, as kind of confrontational, for lack of a better term, as that interview was, especially the guy giving the interview and how direct and blunt and pretty biased some of the questions were. That's kind of to be expected because in a setting like that, she is focusing a bit more on pulling older voters that would maybe swing Republican or are not totally convinced of her yet and are independents or were riding with Biden, so to speak, and trying to just make those voters see more of her way. When it comes to younger media, more in line with Gen Z and millennials and whatnot, the way she approaches the interview or the talk or whatever is definitely going to be a different approach, which is why the Call Her Daddy podcast was probably a lot more well received because she did sound a lot more progressive in her rhetoric and whatnot. I mean, if it's just a podcast too, I'm sure we could probably even like listen to clips from it as
Yeah.
well, see how she did. I wouldn't mind doing that. Meanwhile, Trump's just doing Trump. He's just saying the same old shit, just throwing everything against the wall, blatantly lying, and yeah, we can compare and contrast for tonight's show.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've talked about it, how we're very honest about Kamala Harris, and we've done our due diligence on her career and her skill set. And I got to say, we have kind of nailed it in terms of her being exposed as a relatively pedestrian politician.
Right.
She's not a tremendous political communicator. And it's tough because Obama set the bar pretty damn high.
Hmm.
And you're going to have to, that's the standard. And we thought maybe she would be close, and she's not. But maybe she's good enough. I'll tell you what, she's vulnerable in
Yeah.
4 years. Holy shit. If she doesn't
Yeah.
go for big change, she's going to be so vulnerable in 4 years.
Correct. Yeah.
She's going to go for incrementalism.
Right.
You know she's just going to
Because
give it up, dude. She's going to do compromise. She's going to have Liz Cheney in her goddamn cabinet. Maybe we should talk
right.
about that for a second. Can you believe that she's going to have? She was like, I can understand campaigning with Liz Cheney, but basically all but saying that she's going to put Liz Cheney or just a Republican in her
Hmm.
cabinet. Like, what?
Yeah.
You're this preoccupied with bipartisanship?
Yeah, it's it's pathetic. It really is. I mean, just because Liz Cheney is very much oppositional when it comes to Trump being the head of the Republican Party does not make her one a worthwhile politician to have in your cabinet and heed advice from at all whatsoever, especially when her politics don't detract that far from Trump's to begin with.
Right.
Y-
The voting
it-
record.
yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Her voting record is almost entirely in line with Trump.
Yeah, no,
Like
it's just
spare,
she got a lot of fame. It's kind of, remember when we did that video about potential replacements for Biden, and it was basically
yeah,
just, it was from Business Insider, and it
hmm,
was basically just an analysis of why these people were politically famous. It had nothing to do with their skill set, ideas,
yeah,
proposals for change. It had nothing to do with any of that. It was just, why are they famous? And
yeah,
when you
no
get down
substance.
to campaigning, you figure out what a politician is made of. And I think we're seeing that Kamala's got too many voices in the room. She needs to thin
Right.
out her inner circle and specifically get away from Biden's people. Enough.
Oh
Get
yeah,
your own people in there. Get your own people in there. It's
yeah,
huge, man. You know,
yeah.
Tom Brokaw said this when he left Nightly News. He retired. He said, "I am only the most conspicuous member of a very large team that
Hmm.
makes this broadcast possible." And the
Yeah.
president is only the most conspicuous member of a team
Hmm.
of very intelligent, hardworking people, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. If she, because I mean the thing is, if she wins, how much would she be able to get done? How much would she change? How much would she turn into a campaign issue for 2028? What will she kick down the road? It's like
Well, abortion and the
choosing
border and the economy, some kind of those three
that will
things.
of well those I feel like those three things will definitely get taken care of right away. So that way, not only can she deliver on something, and that'll give a reason people a reason to still stand behind her because she was able to provide these things, but also make it last. I think the economy would be a good thing, like shape the economy in a way to where it continues the success that Biden's had, like somewhat, or at least like expand the success, perceived or otherwise, and let people see the results.
Hmm.
Um, if not, then she wouldn't win re-election as easy unless there are some issues that come up that she feels that she can campaign on and outflank the Republicans on. It's really going to be a balancing act in choosing her battles when it comes to, you know, pursuing what she thinks is obtainable and kicking down the road what she doesn't
Right.
think is obtainable until maybe the midterms. Who knows? Because of course, like there's still the aspect of the Senate and the Congress.
I think ultimately the abortion issue is got to be addressed. If she doesn't
Yeah,
deal with that, she's going to have super
big time.
legacy, huge
That's
problems.
yeah.
So that's number one on the
Hmm.
priority list. I feel like second
Yes.
is the border, but only because it's doable. We've talked about it how the DNC's blood sacrifice to modern American politics has been the subject of immigration. They basically have just conceded that really strict immigration laws are what are required for this country. In fact, I would call them regressive immigration laws.
No, of
They don't
course.
these don't these new immigrant there's no path to citizenship in this new border bill or the old border bill I should call it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, why would the Republicans want that? It's just astounding. Like that would have been such a giant win for them, so they can just brag about it from here till the end of time. Because it would have been the most transformative immigration package in
Well, it's going to get
who knows
passed.
how long.
I mean, no matter who wins the presidency, something like it is going to get passed. I
Right.
mean, for it's like up to you and I, and guys like us, and people in the media stratosphere who are really influential, to
Yeah.
say, okay, you're talking about the border bill that was kind of a ruse,
Hmm.
and you're talking about putting it back in play the way it was originally written.
Yeah.
I hope when rubber meets the road and you do have the political opportunity to reform immigration law in this country, you actually redo that bill fundamentally
Yeah.
because it's pretty strict, man. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
the no path to citizenship part really bums me out. Like that really bums me out. Like if you're a hardworking immigrant from a country that's got issues and you did
Hmm.
what was required to get here and you're a good citizen, like after I don't know, after what, 4 or 5 years, you should be able to be a citizen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just making the process easier for to you know just speed the process along so you can get through and like have immigration status like a visa and whatnot by having more judges along the border and whatnot and process all these claims and everything a bit quicker if uh, there's almost no point to that if you're not even promising immigrants a future.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
it's ridiculous.
It is. All right. Well, let's get into this Donald Trump interview because we love
Sure.
reacting to Trump on here.
Yeah.
Or do you want to react to the? No, because I got to find it. Let's just do the Trump interview.
Okay. Yeah. After the Trump interview, we'll look at some highlights from the Caller Daddy podcast when
Yeah, I got
Kamala
one
Harris was
lined
on.
up.
Cool. Okay.
She's such a bitch.
Moments ago, I sat down with former President Trump for a wide-ranging interview, telling me things that he has never told anyone in an interview before. Enjoy. Mr. President, first, I would like to say a belated congratulations for retiring Joe Biden, at least from the campaign. And now the polls are coming out.
This wasn't the one I'm thinking of, but I'll take it.
A whirlwind positive press for Kamala Harris. But the Real Clear Politics average shows you up at about 1.7%, 7% over
Cheryl
her.
Atkinson?
But before the
Actually, no, that's
debate,
not the one. Never mind.
Biden was 1.5.
This was 2
points
months ago.
behind. So you've actually.
This was 2 months ago. So
Oh, yeah.
I fucked
no,
up.
no worries. Yeah, not the. It wasn't Ingram. It was.
Who was it?
God, what's her name? Let's see here. Fox News.
2 days ago, oh, it was Natalie Baramas or whatever.
Yeah, no, that top one. That's
This one right
yeah,
here, right?
yeah. Looks
So
like there's
how
a
are you
couple
feeling?
of
We're
these.
just a few weeks
Mer-
away, what, 20 plus days away from the election? How do you feel about the
I
race?
feel great. We're leading in all swing states. We're leading mostly in nationals, I think.
Yeah, this is it.
No, you're not.
You know, I'm a believer in polls. Some
He's
of them
not,
are
though.
fake, like a lot of writers. But I'm a believer in polls, and we're leading in just about every swing state. I think we're leading now in every swing state. And
I love how he
That's not true.
repeats himself.
she can't talk.
He repeats himself so
There's
much.
something
Oh, yeah.
wrong with the candidate.
Right.
But I'll
You
take
can't
it.
talk, douchebag.
But we have, I think we're doing very well.
We could
yeah.
put it at like
What do you want to say
1.5.
to those voters out there who might be undecided, who don't know what they're going to do yet?
Well, I think we're going to have a lot of votes. We have something sort of special going on. We have tremendous support. They're so tired of seeing what's happened to this country. They're so tired of seeing the incompetence, seeing the border. And I think the border is maybe a bigger deal than even inflation. Inflation is a massive word. The bad economy.
Well, of course,
is
it's a
massive.
bigger
Inflation
deal
made
now.
the
Like,
economy grow.
I
It made it
mean,
impossible for people.
it's not even
But
a
I
big
almost-
deal to begin with. But like, inflation's down. The costs and stuff are what are and what is still up, but inflation is
The rate of
down.
inflation is down, yes.
Yeah, but to the rate before March 2021. But of course, like he always has to tie everything to the border because like it's just fear monger about the invasion or whatever the fuck.
Well, he just has no range. He's like a really bad actor that can only play
Yeah.
one character in one kind of movie, you know?
Yeah.
I
Yep.
think that when they see millions of people coming into our country, 13,099 murderers, many of them
Millions.
murdered more than one person. When they see that, I actually think I think the border is a bigger issue than even the economy. Those are the two big issues.
It's had such an impact, the open border.
And the other issue that's really big, I think, is how badly they've done with North Carolina, parts of Georgia. When
Oh,
you look at what's
Jesus.
happened in Florida, we'll see what's happening there. I think we got a little bit lucky in the sense that it was bad, but it
Yeah.
wasn't as bad as they
The
thought.
response was fine. Like they keep on trying so hard to make it seem like Biden and
Well,
Harris
they're just not
fucked
going to
up.
miss an opportunity to work the media.
No, of course. Like that's
He's
exactly
just
what it
always
comes down to.
everything is an opportunity to work the media. It's like a sex addict where if you're a guy, every woman the guy meets is a potential lay. Well,
Right.
for him, his addiction is attention,
Yeah.
specifically TV attention, and he's never going to
Exactly.
miss an opportunity to insert himself into the media cycle.
No, yeah, and if the Democrats were on the ball when it came to this shit, they would have the narrative at the ready. They would counter this with the facts. FEMA was not funded to where it should have been or could have been because of the Republicans, because of Congress and the
wouldn't come
Republican
back.
control. Yeah, not to mention, Speaker Johnson himself said there's nothing that's going to make Congress reconvene before the election. They're coming back the day after the election, and nothing's going to make them come back. So, tough shit, North Carolina, I suppose.
Remind me to mention when we get out of reacting to about something we learned from 9/11 that people haven't really given credence to.
And
Sure.
a lot of governors have done a good job, but the response from the White House has been absolutely terrible. Her response has been terrible, so bad that they didn't even want. I see Ron didn't want her in Florida. Said, just don't even come here. So I think they're
That
doing
was
really
before
well.
the
Now.
hurricane
course,
even
President
hit,
Biden
you
has been in-
fucking moron. Well, no, he didn't want her there because he was playing politics. Like
Of course.
he thinks that governors, the multiple Republican governors up and down the destruction path of Helene, were openly praising Biden and Harris for their efforts and their assistance because they give them a call like, "Hey, what do you need right now? We can send support and whatnot your way." But fucking Ron DeSantis, because he wants to play to his partisan base and like be biased and just
Yep.
pretend he's above the fray, too much pride for that shit. It's, yeah, I God, DeSantis has to go.
you for this bad response to these hurricanes, and the White House is calling it all misinformation.
They blame me for everything. It's okay. They, when
Yeah,
you look at
you're
our
you're
numbers,
you're
when you look at
spreading
our economy,
bullshit
when you look
about
at our
FEMA
governors, every single
to the
chart that
point
you put up,
now
they,
where there are FEMA workers being hunted down by MAGA extremists that have
Right.
fallen for
I heard about that.
conspiracies.
Yep.
You fucking idiot. It's because of the shit that you're spreading on social media and your lackeys are spreading on social media and the shit that you're saying at your rallies. Because if FEMA's not doing anything, then what are they doing? What are FEMA workers actually doing? Is there some sort of grand conspiracy? Can you lay it out for us? Of course you fucking can't. Like there's nothing to it.
Well, do you
Just
know
make people
the
scared.
word? What's the word that comes to mind when you tell that story about the FEMA workers being harassed and threatened and
Well, the
pushed
conspiracy
around?
theory,
And
the conspiracy theory that comes to mind is like there's an ongoing belief, be it by like the Q people or whoever the fuck, that
I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to come back to that.
yeah, that FEMA is like would be behind a manufactured disaster put upon by the U.S. government, and FEMA workers will be used to like what I guess round up U.S. citizens or whatever, set up camp like concentration camps or some shit, and so
Mhm.
like because there's this inherent distrust by MAGA types and dumb Southern Republicans or whatever the fuck, of course they're not going to be receptive to FEMA aid workers. They're going to fall for bullshit. They're not going to fact check it because it's not in their best. It's not in their interest to fact check shit and actually make sure they got the story straight because they're conspiratorial minded. If you're conspiratorial minded, you'll dig deep enough to find shit that suits your bias and like confirms your delusions and
Previously
shit.
held beliefs. Yeah.
Yeah, like
But what about? But what is
God.
the actual like the term for that when Trump spreads the lies and then people believe them and then they start to do things like harass FEMA workers? What would you call that specifically?
That is stochastic terrorism.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's terrorism.
Yeah, it is.
I've been obsessed with 9/11 recently, and I just could not figure out why. I've watched everything from tours of the Twin Towers and just photography from outside the towers. Not really so much inside. I don't really care about
Right.
what's going on inside the Twin Towers back in the 80s and 90s.
Mhm.
But I did like the tour of the new One World Trade and the complex that they've got going on down there. I really want to see it in person someday, especially if they get 2 World Trade built someday, or I think it's 5 World Trade built someday. Anyway,
Okay.
the 9/11, I kept watching all this footage. I was listening to the comms. You know, there's like you can listen to the air traffic control people kind
Yeah.
of fumble their way through the day, like not really knowing what to do, and
Yeah.
the way that they located commercial airplanes was different than the way the military located its planes. So they
Yeah.
couldn't communicate about where the planes were. They were all organized, the Air Force was in the Northeast, to protect the country against an attack from the ocean. And so they never thought
Right.
about an internal. No, basically 9/11 happened because no one in the government was creative enough to think about what the terrorists were willing to do to accomplish their goals, and how
Yeah.
easy it was. And how easy it was. I told you about that
Yeah.
premonition I had when I was a kid in 8th grade, going to New York and seeing a Broadway show. We went up to the Empire State Building, the whole nine. We didn't go to the Twin Towers. But I remember on the shuttle flight on the way back, seeing the Twin Towers in the window of the plane and thinking to myself, damn, it sure would be easy to hijack this thing and fly it right into those towers. And sure enough, that's what happened 3 years later. So
Yeah.
I am just saying that. So the big crucial takeaway, I kept watching all this stuff. This is all by way of saying, I kept watching this 9/11 coverage. Like, what is the insight here? What is the insight? The insight is the airport security. That was the last line of defense between the terrorists and their ability to hijack the airplane. It was the airport security. And guess why the airport security didn't prevent those terrorists from getting on those planes? Because they were run by the airlines, not the government. So people who always complain about how the private sector can always do it better than the government, it's bullshit.
It's
And
it's always
is
been
the
bullshit.
best historical example I think
Yeah.
that you can come up with, because it didn't happen
Definitely
that
one of
long
them.
ago. And in hindsight, also too, you gotta go back a few months into 2001, and there were quite a few intelligence reports saying that bin Laden's up to something, or there's some extremists are up to something, and no one was
Yeah.
listening. And
Yeah.
it was just this, and I talk about it. Conservatives aren't creative. That's the left's big advantage.
No,
And
yeah,
I think this
of
is an
course.
example of that, because
yeah.
if you had some creativity in that White House, you'd have someone that could think like a terrorist, and they'd be like, of course you can find 15 to 20 guys that are willing to sacrifice their lives to bring down America. Of course you
Yeah.
can. It's not
Yeah.
that hard when you have millions and millions of dollars and thousands of people to choose from in impoverished states. These terrorist cells, the attraction for the terrorists is it's like their family. It's like the same thing as gangs, right? They're all from troubled backgrounds and have
Yes.
horrible home lives for the most part. Some are the
Yeah.
elites. With that said, the elites are like really well educated. It's kind of
Right.
scary.
Yeah. I mean, young folks with nothing, or maybe like they lost. I mean, it's like right now with Lebanon and Gaza and whatnot, or Syria, or what have you in the Middle East. Like you kill civilians.
Collateral damage.
Yeah, collateral damage. The families of civilians and whatnot,
They don't
family
care.
members, loved ones. Where are those loved ones going to turn? Like they're going to feel a sense of revenge, retribution, and they're going to
Yep.
want to fight for,
Yep.
you know, for the purpose of vengeance and whatnot. You're just creating a bigger problem.
And it never
It's
ends.
it's been that way. Yeah, it's been that way for
It never
fucking
ends.
decades now, since we've been fucking around in the Middle East and whatnot. And then, of course, 9/11 just made it worse. It's like Israel's making the exact same mistakes that we did after 9/11. Overreacting and fucking 250, 300 times the amount of civilians that they took from us were taken from them. It's God, like history rhymes.
Yeah, it does. And here's the quote from Martin Luther King Jr. that resonates with me the most about violence. He had quite a bit to say about violence, understandably so. He said, "The ultimate weakness of violence is that it is a descending spiral begetting the very thing it seeks to destroy," meaning that it's just a perpetuating vicious cycle that never really ends. And the
Yeah.
Middle East is only the best example of that. That's what separates the rest of the world from the Middle East. Like, look at how far Africa has come in our lifetime. They
Yeah.
have really gotten it together and become an amazing part of the world that is now accessible. And like, I want to go to the Congo. I want to go.
That'd be
You know, I
cool.
want to go. Yeah, I want to go to all these places. There's
Yeah.
nowhere in Africa that I don't want to go. You
Right.
know what I mean?
I would go to Nigeria or
I
South
go anywhere.
Africa. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I go anywhere.
absolutely.
I go
Egypt.
anywhere. I feel
Right.
perfectly safe going anywhere in Africa.
Apart from
Almost
like
anywhere.
the savannah get like mauled by a hippopotamus or some shit.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
Right.
under the right circumstances, I mean.
No, of course. Yeah.
But the Middle
Yeah.
East still has these
It's a
age-old
powder keg.
conflicts,
Yeah.
and it just the religion that influences them. I mean, I think you can make a lot of political hay in our generation
Hmm.
with anti-religion, with anti-organized religion rhetoric.
Of course.
It's time to like realize the left keeps trying to build up and build up and build up, and it's realizing what I'm trying to teach the left is that you need to first knock down that which you seek to replace.
Yeah.
You need to knock down the building that's in the spot you want to put your building in.
Yeah.
Like abortion, for example. We built this building of abortion, and it was stood for 60 years. And then the Republicans have come along and torn it down, and now we got to build a new house.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Something has to be ready to take its place. The building blocks have to be there so that way something is like just completely like at the ready once it's the dismantling occurs, so to speak. A lot of people don't really understand that. It's like, I mean, speaking of the left, like a lot of them are just so like the third party types are just so adamant
Oh,
about
God.
you know we got to vote for Jill Stein because she's
Right.
the only one who's anti-genocide and whatnot. It's like if she gets enough votes because of the community of Michigan, she might win Michigan. It's like, okay, it's not going to
If
happen.
they
But what?
had a real party with a
Mhm.
real candidate, then I would consider voting for them.
Yeah,
The Green Party has been around. Since the first exposure to the Green Party I had was 2000 with Ralph Nader versus Gore and Bush, and
Mhm.
that was when I first realized they existed. I know they existed well before that, but they've had plenty of time for America to take them seriously. They could have
Yeah.
come up with, for example, a media apparatus by which they commented on every single issue that came up
Mhm.
in discourse over a series of years. And they could have established personalities and relationships with other politicians. There's a million different things. And it's not like they didn't have any money.
No,
You know,
of course.
they've got some money, so they could have done some creative things to build a brand for themselves and really go after, some small political wins.
Yeah. No, of course. But no, instead, they sit out and wait till after the primaries are over at each election cycle, and they do nothing.
Right.
I mean, Cornel West, I believe, was the candidate for the Green Party after switching from the People's Party for like a brief moment of time. This is a guy who has built a name for himself, who has been all over media, who has made several different appearances on several different networks or shows or podcasts or whatever the hell. And like Jill Stein doesn't have that level of exposure, not even
No.
close. It's like
She also
branding,
sucks. She's
marketing.
been around for
God, yeah,
15,
she's
20 years or something.
she's
Like,
awful.
get
Total
out of
grifter.
here. I mean,
Yeah.
give me someone real. Like, give me someone with some talent. There's got to be somebody out there you can find. I mean, it really is
Right.
kind of a casting decision, isn't it? Like, you can't
Yeah.
find a good-looking woman that also knows how to talk fast and
Yeah, it's like
and has data at her disposal. I mean,
Her-
you can get a long way by just talking shit about the establishment.
sure, and that's basically all she has at her disposal at this point. But rarely ever goes after Republicans. Like that's why the abandon Harris campaign is like a huge like backbone of her campaign. But her and the Brianna Joy Grays of the world just don't seem to fucking have a clue. It's like, oh, if we
What
get the
happened to
green,
Brianna Joy Gray? I thought she was like
fell
cool,
the fuck
but
off. No,
yeah, what happened?
no. I mean,
Is she just trying to be anti-establishment? Like, speaking of,
well, I mean, to put it bluntly, like I would watch her appearance on Crystal Kyle and Friends because her hang up I mean, aside from the fact that like when she's backed into a corner on her rhetoric and she can't actually answer for the shit that she believes in, she'll just start playing the identity card. She'll start playing the race card and shit.
Really?
Well, yeah. Well, as a black woman, I feel strong about this. So so you have to like accept the way I feel about this.
Really?
Fucking back in 2020, she made a big deal because she engaged with Noam Chomsky about not because she didn't want to vote for Biden. She felt like the Democrats weren't going far enough for on this and that, and they weren't the right party, whatever. And Noam Chomsky was like, no, Trump is an existential threat. The Republican Party is a party of extremists. The globe cannot afford them getting back into power in any way, shape, or form. It is our obligation as people of the left to vote against him, and that means Biden must win. And she just couldn't fucking accept it, and she's still like that to this day. People like her saying the Green Party is the only way forward. She was even asked, and has been asked multiple times. For example, Crystal Kyle and friends, if you had a choice or if you had a preference between the two viable candidates that can actually take power and actually have a chance to achieve power, and right now it's either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. Out of the two of those, who would you prefer
Right.
wins? Who would you prefer our future be under? Like, as if one of them were to become president, what kind of political landscape would you prefer to live in this country under? And she cannot answer. She
Right.
will not answer. She
Right.
dodges it and just like makes all sorts of excuses. She just entirely
She's stubborn as hell.
dishonest. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not just her either. It's the Jimmy Dores of the world.
Well,
It's
I
that
don't.
whole
I
dumb
hesitate
left.
to. I hesitate to mention it because I'm usually defending the Ivy League, even though I have no
Yeah,
Ivy
she's a
League
lawyer.
degrees
Like
or
she should
anything.
know
But
better than this.
I'm normally defending elite academic institutions as their worth. But with her, it does seem like she's a little got that Harvard arrogance going on.
She's very
And
arrogant.
she
Her
thinks that
yeah.
she's the smartest person in the room. She doesn't have anything to learn from anybody. That's what I like about
Yeah.
Kyle is that he
He's used to the
actually
bullshit.
is interested in learning. He doesn't maybe think he has a lot to learn because he's very well read,
Of course.
but he looks at relationships with the idea that maybe there's something I can learn from this person. And Crystal's probably the same way. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know either of them. But you know,
He
I just
approaches
suspect based on
everything.
their media presence.
Yeah, he does approach things with a very rigid level of logic that few pundits and people on the left and commentators actually do. It's like, well, if you think this and you think this is going to happen, then
Yeah, he's
wouldn't
good
this
at using
happen?
their framing against them. Yeah, he's really good
Big
at using
time.
their framing against them and saying, for example,
That's why I'm a big fan.
if you're pro life, then you have to be against the death penalty, which is right.
Yes.
And he
Great
called
example.
out what's his name from Daily Wire, the closet gay guy.
Not Matt Walsh.
No, the other guy he was an
Megan
actor.
will probably get under my skin for that one.
Knowles, Michael Knowles.
Michael Knowles. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
yeah. No. I mean, it's a great example because it's like, he straight up like asked like and he said this like he's gone over this little dynamic, this little thought experiment before when it comes to the third party, like because advocates of the third party or the Green Party say like, oh, if we just get 5% of the national vote, if we just get 5% of the national vote, we'll finally get federal funding, we'll have access to that federal funding. Okay, and then what? Where's your ground game? Where are the local candidates? Like, where are these local campaigns? Where is that going to go? It's like, it doesn't mean anything, especially if the Green Party has not had any modicum of, like, significant successes, like anywhere,
Right.
like federal, state, or local.
Right.
It's like, or like this fantasy that because Michigan has a large Arab American population, that somehow it's gonna flip green. It's like, okay, so Michigan goes green, then what? Does
Yeah,
that
error.
does
I
that
think
stop the
people have.
genocide in Gaza? No, it fucking doesn't. Like, it's like, come on, dude.
I think
Uh,
9% of America's population is Muslim. I want to say
Something like that,
9%.
or at
So
least
it
they're
might.
at least they're
I thought maybe it was of Arab descent or of Middle
right.
Eastern descent, but
That's probably it.
that's. I don't know. I don't. I think it might be inclusive of all Muslims. But anyway,
Regardless, it's not enough to sway an election.
no, 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 not in one state.
Or yeah, in a yeah, of course.
In a
I mean,
national election, it would maybe matter.
yeah, between the two parties that actually have a ground game in every single state and have the duopoly, for crying out fucking loud. It's like, come on.
Well, ranked choice voting in a multi-party system is probably the best structure of government, but
it's the most
we'll
frustrating.
probably never get that.
It's the most
Unfortunate, but we'll
frustrating
probably
thing in
never
the
get that.
world, and I've been dealing with this since the 2020 election. Even looking back into my channel, like the most frustrating thing is like, yeah, I want the duopoly to fucking vanish. I don't want there to be uh like fucking, what is it, paddleball, ping
Pickleball?
pong. Yeah,
Ping
like
pong?
ping pong back and forth between the Democrats and Republicans. The Republicans don't deserve power. So if you're going to dismantle the duopoly, clearly you want the more extreme party to go under first. You want to render them obsolete first. Green Party doesn't believe that. They want to take away from the Democrats. They want to punish them, and it's all just completely fraudulent, completely inauthentic, completely dishonest as fuck. And I don't respect it. You know, if you're in a deep state, like a deep blue state, whatever the fuck, like sure, like vote to your heart's content, but this country cannot, the world cannot afford living under Republican control in the United States, given our influence and our power across the globe, especially when it comes to climate change policy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the litmus test that we did a while back, questions to ask someone that you don't know very well to figure out whether or not they're intellectually available, like, do you think America is a meritocracy? And if they say yes, then you got to come to terms with that relationship is going to be a limited one. Because if they don't
Yeah.
already know that America isn't a meritocracy, that it's not a fair place, then they're probably never going to know. Or you're probably
Yeah.
not going to be the one that shows them otherwise, at least not yet. Another
Right.
question that you could ask, and I'd be interested in what the Due Dissidents guys would say, or any of those nut job
Yeah.
left wingers who think they know everything, or just ultimately
Right.
nihilists.
Yeah.
I wonder what they would say to the question, do you believe MAGA is at all intellectually available? Do you think that you could communicate with someone from the culture of MAGA and convince them that, you know better, or that, convince them to vote the way you want them to vote, convince them to vote green, or convince them to vote for a new party that you're going to start? Like, what's your proposal for change? What are we, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't understand.
I think they would say, yes, I
whatsoever.
could probably get through to 20% of them or 30% of them. I think they would legitimately believe that they can get through to MAGA. They
It's
don't
wishful
understand that
thinking.
the Kalinsky TFG, too far gone, right? They
Yeah.
don't understand that.
No, of
They
course.
don't understand that. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. And
Yeah.
it's really simple. And it's liberating when you come to terms with that MAGA are just overgrown children who will never change.
Yeah.
It's
That's-
liberating. You're
yeah.
like, okay, I'm giving up on trying to get through to them. I'm not going to waste another second of my life
No,
worrying about what a MAGA person thinks.
it's because people like the dude dissidents podcasts and their crowd and people who think like them,
The Jimmy Dore crowd, basically.
yeah, they're just compulsive contrarians. Their only politics are, I just hate liberals. I just hate Democrats. They're all shit libs.
Yep.
I don't want anything to do them. I fucking hate them. So, who cares if the Republicans take
When
power?
they
Like,
are intellectually available, like
mhm,
if, for example, immigration, a lot of resistance liberals or just liberals in general are kind of where Kamala's at with immigration.
mhm, yeah,
But it's not because they know what they're talking about. It's because they don't know what they're talking about. And
right,
they don't understand how important immigrant labor is to the economy. They don't understand
exactly.
that a lot of that immigrants actually make for better behaved citizens than normal
Yeah,
American, the naturalized Americans,
yeah,
um, native born, I should say. And
sure.
then, so they just haven't thought about it. It's like what I say about stupidity is
No,
most people that you think are stupid, they're not actually stupid. They just either don't think enough or even worse, they don't know how to think. A lot of
yeah,
people don't know how to think critically. They
yeah,
don't.
no,
They don't know how to ask the right questions.
no, of course. And like a lot, a lot of converts from the right claim that what made them stop being like so conservative was seeing just how wrong a lot of conservatives are about immigration in
Sure.
general, and how a lot of it is just sensationalized fear
Yeah.
mongering.
It's just an easy,
And not, yeah,
powerless person in our
not to mention,
society.
yeah, not to mention just how essential it is for a functioning, growing, thriving economy and shit. It's like, dude, you're not being replaced. There's no fucking conspiracy like undermining the fucking white race or some shit like that. It's that's fucking ridiculous.
Right.
Like,
But they're
and
narcissists.
yeah,
They're the
no,
left
that's
wing.
yeah,
The Jimmy Dore crowd
hmm
is the
or the
equivalent
fascists.
of the MAGA left. Like they're the equivalent of the MAGA left. They just
Yeah,
nothing's ever going to be good enough for them. Nothing's ever going to satiate their fucking their children, their childish need to be
yeah,
right, their childish need to be the smartest people in the room.
hmm
And I got into it with the Do Dissidents guys once, and I kind of just like, I don't remember exactly the way it went, but I was just like, have you ever won anything other than an argument?
right.
Like really? Like have you guys and Jimmy Dore, like I don't think you've ever been the reason your sports team won a game. I don't think you've ever really laid the hottest chick in the room. I
Or
don't
like
think you
or
ever.
like you achieve something on your own terms.
Right.
You weren't riding off the coattails of some other thing, and just climb to the top. Like a clout. You're just a clout chaser. You're a ladder climber, so to speak. Fucking
Yes.
Jimmy Dore got his start with the Young Turks, and started becoming like the contrarian lefty guy that right wingers will point to, and like, yeah, that guy's on the left, but I got like I he makes a lot of sense, you know.
I know. I hear
Like,
that all the
oh,
time. Yeah.
motherfuck,
I
and
hear that
now
all the time from my
and then,
old conservative buddies.
yeah, and like then he like hopped onto the anti-vaccine grift, and now that that's starting to dry up, like his engagement is dropping. It's like the fucking function of the capitalism. You need endless growth, or else
Right.
the whole thing's gonna fucking collapse. And it's like he's in the he's in the find out stage, and that's the case for a lot of these fucking grifters on the left. Like you can
Mm.
only ride the coattails of like a niche or a fucking for so long, you know, until like there you can't milk that anymore. It just becomes old and tired, and you're just being a dead horse at that point because you don't actually fucking believe in anything. You can stand for something because it gets you the attention and the notoriety that you've been craving, and therefore an income. But if you don't actually like have any fucking principles, the floor is just gonna fall out from right under you. I mean, like fucking we're a tiny ass podcast based out of California, but we actually like stand on our like principles and have a moral compass and actually have progressive policy ideals that we stand behind. We're not going to like dishonestly and fraudulently hop onto something just because it's trendy or because it might gain us a new audience
Yeah.
because
Right.
we wouldn't be honest with ourselves.
Right.
Like I come from the skeptic community, the atheist community, from the early to mid 2010s. A lot of those people, you can tell like where the schism kind of like began. You know, a lot of them either held true to their like beliefs and their principles and remained grounded, or saw dollar signs because they were
Yeah.
approached by people like PragerU, Daily Wire, Blaze TV,
Yeah.
you name it, and slowly started shifting their views away to become a fucking reactionary because it made them, it brought them a new audience, therefore a like more income and whatnot. And it couldn't be more
Capitalism's
transparent.
a bitch, man. Capitalism's a bitch.
And I started recognizing that. I started identifying that, especially with the advent of Trump and his first couple of years of his presidency, and started to realize, yeah, these people don't actually fucking believe anything. They don't stand
Yeah.
for anything. They're not consistent on
Yeah.
their on the morals and ethics that they espouse, because they started acting like, oh, it's okay when we do it, and the people that we silently support, Trump, it's okay when they do it, but it's the SJWs and whatnot, and the crazy lefty socialists do it. It's bad. It's the end of the world,
Right.
and
Communism.
yeah, yeah, and it's still happening today. For a good example, and I'll end with this point: Ken Klippenstein, great journalist, one of my favorite accounts. Like his one of my favorite people. He just got his account banned on Twitter because he leaked a dossier about JD Vance, which was very, very revealing. Elon Musk fucking took him down, removed his account, scrubbed the dossier at the request of the fucking Trump campaign.
Of course.
Yeah. They don't
Of
actually
course.
believe anything. Like that's censorship right there. That is censorship.
Yes.
What they've been screaming about, what does JD Vance respond with saying when he's asked, "Did Trump lose 2020?" Well, I think we should move on from that. We should focus on the fact that the Hunter Biden story was censored, and the social media giants and tech giants are censoring stuff and blah 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 blah. It's just like your campaign just censored the dossier about you because you ordered them to. It's like Elon Musk doesn't fucking believe in shit anymore. It was a fucking lie to begin with. He doesn't give a shit
Elon
about
Musk is a
censorship.
creep. I don't
Yeah, fuck that guy. He doesn't
think he's
actually
got
believe
staying
anything.
power. He's not got staying power. He's going to rue the day that he supported Trump. If it's not
Yeah,
this cycle, it'll be when Trump leaves. If Trump leaves, he's not going to be welcome in Hollywood ever again. He's not going to
yeah,
be welcome among the inner circles of high society in America. Really, I don't think ever again.
yeah.
Because of this.
He got hella insecure because he made a tweet and it got some traction, but apparently Biden or Biden's team, whoever, like the Biden account, made a similar tweet, I guess of the same vein, and it blew the fuck up, and that made him really insecure. So he went to the Twitter team and whatnot, and made it so like, it his like Biden's tweets were throttled, or no, he made it so that way his Elon Musk account would show up way more often in the
Yes,
For You section.
it has. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you don't follow him,
Even if you don't follow him,
like almost
I get
every other tweet
notices
is
about
his.
his posts all the time.
God, I swear,
No, the
he's
FCC should
fragile.
require him to sell that company.
God, I wish. Yeah,
The FCC should require him to sell that company. I mean, that's just it is a violation of the First Amendment. I mean,
Yeah.
the First Amendment's supposed to protect news media, and we need to have media law. There you go. There's another issue that we could be talking about.
yeah,
But everyone's too scared of mainstream media.
yeah.
It's like
Speaking
they
of
don't have to be. They don't
Yeah.
have to be.
No, of course.
There's a
I mean,
happy existence between independent media and established media, I believe. There just need to be more media players at the top.
of
They need
course.
to there need to be more, and that aren't conservatives, because you've seen OAN pop up, and you've seen what's the other one, Newsmax. I mean, these are crazy,
Yeah.
crazy media institutions,
Yeah.
and they need to be called out for not being really news.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's part of a conversation that we should have with media experts. I mean, I know a thing or two about media, but I'm by no means an expert.
Of
And I want
course.
to know what they think the solution is, because the media law has just gotten out of control. The for-profit motive has corrupted the integrity of news media. Period.
Big time. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And with Elon Musk endorsing Trump and showing up at one of his rallies for him and whatnot, just one of the biggest narcissists on the planet. And like his
Oh yeah.
behavior when it comes to like Twitter generally is just a prime example of that. Total hypocrisy. But I mean, how unlike a fucking fascist, right? How unlike a far right winger, like operating on hypocrisy and double standards, because like that's the only two legs they have to stand on when it comes to when it comes down to the nitty gritty. That's just what they resort to. They don't give a shit. They don't have any principles. They can't be trusted with a goddamn thing. They're all fucking dishonest as fuck.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
this in a capitalist society. We celebrate success, and the indication of success is money in our society. So people think that when you have a lot of money, it's because you're really smart and you really understand the world. And that's why my Deter decree number 7 is just because someone is the best or among the best at what they do doesn't mean they're good at anything else, much less everything else. And that's really the problem, is that
Yeah.
people want the panaceas, man. They want the answers
Jack
in
of
the
all
back of the
trades.
textbook. They want the messiah. They
Hmm.
want the people who are good or the best at one thing to be amazing at everything else. And it's just
Yeah.
not the way it is.
It's
What
not.
should be that's not what should be the criteria by which we select our leaders.
Yeah, that's there's really very few honest to goodness jack of all trades out there. Someone who can juggle multiple different talents or um yeah, talents. It- like you're not going to ask Elon Musk to show you how exactly a fucking Tesla works, because he probably doesn't actually fucking know.
Right.
Like he just owns a lot of the stock in the company and whatnot, and he just has a lot of money behind it. Just, like you can have a shitload of money behind it, but not like no fucking the ins and outs and whatnot, or the technological aspects of it, like for like the
Or
way
even
social.
if he does, just because he understands engineering doesn't mean he understands social media, and the proof is in the
Yeah,
valuation of the company. I
yeah,
mean, Twitter has been ruined. It's over.
yes,
It's
yeah,
dead.
yeah,
I was just getting into it when they sold it, and even I noticed. I was like, this is garbage. Like, this doesn't make me interested or want to go down cool research rabbit holes, and learn, or maybe find out smart voices, that I can learn from. This is just peddling garbage that people want to hear. It's like
yeah.
fast food. It's like
Hmm.
really bad fast food. Like, do you like Del
Exactly.
Taco? I hate Del Taco.
I
I
I
hate Del
I,
Taco.
I kind of like it. I think. Well, I
Ugh.
mean, I mean, it is glop. It is crap, but sometimes it hits. For the price and the amount of shit they give you. Me and my girlfriend at least find it to be at least
Oh, it's gross.
like the value. I mean,
Oh,
it's
it's
not.
gross.
It can be pretty gross at times though, for sure.
Oh, it's
But
disgusting.
yeah,
All right, so do you want to finish up this Trump interview, or what do you want to do?
yeah. We'll go.
Or,
We'll go ahead and wrap up with that. Yeah.
all right, let's do this.
When you look at our numbers, when you look at our economy, when you look at our job numbers, every single chart that you put up, we beat them by numbers that nobody's ever seen. We had the best economy in
It's
history.
not even true.
We had the best job numbers in history, and we
No.
had the best border
No.
in history.
No.
We
Wrong.
rebuilt the military,
Wrong.
and then he gave away a lot of it to the
Wrong.
Afghans. If he gave it to the Taliban, I think in the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And then when you think about it, I think Putin really just said, hey, this is a good time because these people are
The most
incompetent. Putin
embarrassing
would never have
moment
gone
that
into Ukraine.
you greenlighted?
October 7th would have never happened. And you know what else? Inflation wouldn't have happened.
Do you
Inflation wouldn't
believe
have
that they used money from FEMA and gave it
Bullshit.
to the illegal immigrants? Because the White House is saying that that was misinformation as well.
No, it came out from there, and everybody knew it, and it was released from them. Then all of a sudden,
What's
a week
there?
later, they come out with a different scenario. And there's so
Everybody
many
knew
different
it.
pots of money. They just, it just melts.
Everybody
Nobody
knows
it.
it.
Nobody has any idea.
Oh,
That
yeah.
guy has no
Yeah,
idea what's
sure.
He loves
happening.
that line.
Look,
He loves that line.
it's the worst
The big-
president
yeah.
and the worst vice president
His
in the history of our
superlatives.
country. They're
He
horrible.
loves
And he can't stand her
superlatives.
for one simple reason. She overthrew him. But she didn't do it. The party did. We call it the deep state,
Do
whatever
you
it
like
is, but
Del
the party
Taco,
did it.
Megan?
And it was really a coup. I mean, he is a very angry guy. And actually, I think he looks better now because now we're comparing him to her. And for the first time, he looks a little bit better. But he's a very angry guy. Look, he got 14. I'm not a fan. He
God.
got 14 million votes. She got no votes.
I
She
think it's
never
really
made it to
funny
Iowa. She was the first
now.
one out of 22.
Like he's kind of like throwing these like little compliments towards Biden because he still misses him. He still wishes
Oh yeah.
that he was running against him and whatnot.
No, he had a frenemy. Biden was Trump's frenemy.
Yeah.
You know, Trump was like, couldn't wait to go back up and do the rematch with Biden. Biden was like, this. Trump was
Of
like,
course.
that job's going to eat him alive for 4 years, and then I'm going to kick his ass in a rematch.
Yeah.
Because people aren't going to show up for an incumbent Democrat who's 82 or whatever he is.
People
Right.
right. She was the first one to drop out. We seem to be up in the swing states in every one of them. And it doesn't matter. Look, I've worked 32 days in a row, and we have another 25. And I intend to work every one of them. I'm not going to take days off. Let's take a little vacation, everybody. We're running to save our country, so we're not going to be.
Says
taking
the
any
guy
vacations.
who
We had
took
such a
more
day,
vacations
a little
than
while
any
ago
other
back where we said We
president.
had 101,000 people show up. 101,000 people. A tribute to Corey, the firefighter, and a tribute to a lot of things.
Used
And
to
it
wear
was
Del Taco
amazing.
shirt
I
all
don't
the
think I've
time.
ever
That's
seen anything
funny.
like it,
Well, the pictures were incredible. Are you able to register some of those people to vote?
Yeah.
Are you getting those ballots in the boxes?
We do. We register a lot of people when we do rallies and when we do things like that. And we have the endorsement of Elon, as you know. Elon Musk, who's great. He's a great guy. He had such a good time. He put the black hat on. I didn't even.
Dark MAGA.
He calls it dark MAGA. How cool is that, right? He calls it dark. He's a great guy. But he's given us a really powerful endorsement. He's out campaigning. in
It's
Pennsylvania
a
today.
good
He's
thing
actually
that
campaigning
that
because
Elon
he says
likes
if we
him.
don't win, we're not gonna
Actually,
have a country.
that's the silver
said this-
lining. Is Elon is such a fucking creep. Look at the people that are in Trump's inner orbit of the celebrities. Like, I would say the
Not
most,
people worth defending.
I mean, yeah, like they're trash. I don't want to say they're all trash, but kind of.
This will be the last election if Donald Trump doesn't win. He's very worried about.
It might,
speech,
Megan.
censorship.
I'm not
Is there anything
exactly
you can do
too sure about that.
Well, I think that we just have to win. The only thing you can do is to win. No, these are bad people. And they're surrounded by very bad people. I think they're surrounded by much worse people than they are. Joe didn't really know too much about where he was, and Kamala's worse than him. Joe is much more competent than
What?
him.
Gallup polling says only 57% of Americans are very or somewhat confident that their votes this year will be accurately cast.
See, this is the thing.
Probably.
He sounds like a fifth grader on Adderall because he's like just articulate enough to put together what might sound like he knows what he's talking about, but he keeps tripping over his sentences. I mean, it's one sentence fragment after another. There is no cohesion of communication.
There's not.
not how a grown man communicates.
No, yeah, it's just spitballing. It's just filling the room with hot air, even if you're not actually directly
No numbers.
answering anything. Yeah, just throwing out vague.
Our numbers were the best ever. His numbers
Yeah.
were the worst ever. I'm
Yeah.
the best ever. He's the worst ever.
No, yeah.
Senators say they are not at all confident in the vote is now
Big is
19%.
like
It was
Elon
6%
had such
in
a great time
2008.
in
I
that
don't feel
pick.
confident. When you have mail-in voting,
Yeah, he was
Jimmy
probably
Carter
on
had a
ketamine.
commission on it. Nobody does mail-in voting. You look
Probably.
at other countries, France, they go to when you have mail-in voting. Jimmy Carter had a commission on it. Nobody does mail-in voting. Now you look at other countries, France, they go to paper ballots.
Everybody does mail-in
France had it,
voting,
and
you
they had a lot of
idiot.
problems.
But you don't want to discourage people from mailing votes.
No, I don't. Look, we have to win the election. Then we have
The,
to really fix
the
this
only
whole thing, because
reason
we need
why
I built 500.
the only reason why fucking mail-in voting was such a big thing in 2020 was because there's a fucking
COVID.
pandemic, dude. Hello.
Yeah.
Not to
Well,
mention,
he's not
it's,
gonna
it's,
acknowledge that
it's just fucking, it's just a convenient thing now. We're like, 2020 really kicked off the fucking delivery market. You know, where everything is like you can just order everything online. You can order food delivered to you. You know that shit blew up. So it's like, why leave the confines of your home if you like work from home? If you could just order shit from home? If you could like cast a ballot from home, dude? It's like, come the fuck on. Like
But that's why he lost, is because of the mail-in ballots. So that's why he's going after them.
Well, yeah, it's like he's still just so stuck. Like it's as if he was still, as if he's still president. He can't process 2020 at all. He can't move past it. It's like times have drastically changed since then. I mean, sure, the pandemic happened. Like people died. Like the world changed, but it adapted to what was necessary at the time to move past it and grow from it. And he doesn't seem to understand a lot of those changes. He doesn't seem to grasp with the fact that all these came to fruition when it happened and when he was voted out of office.
Right.
So he's been stuck there ever since, and this has been like his grievances since, and he just can't move past it.
Miles of wall, and they sold the wall for 5 cents on the dollar. It's very expensive. It's exactly what Border Patrol wanted. They sold the wall for 5 cents on the dollar. And I said, they want open borders. They want open borders, and they're always going to want, and she's always going to want
Why?
open borders.
Yeah, Megan
That's
says
the
nine
$64,000
countries
question.
offer
Why?
mail-in
I
voting.
have
Yeah,
no idea. Maybe they hate our country.
One of the elements at the border has brought in trend.
I love that.
And
He's
they're
so
always gonna
smart.
want
He doesn't have any explanation for why Democrats want open borders. Maybe you could say votes. That's the rhetorical play that I hear most conservatives make. Oh, they just want immigrants because the immigrants will vote Democratic for their whole life.
God,
Florida, man.
dude, like,
That's why you got to distribute them all over the country. That way, if you
Right.
distribute them all over the country, I mean, we kind of need to do what China did and build some cities in some less established places in the country. Like we
Right, I
kind of
like-
need to like build a city in North Dakota for that just focuses on like renewable energy or something like that. Like it's like we have to.
yeah, like
The
are all
private sector is only the private sector is always going to appeal to established power, and in order to have new power or power change, you're going to need the government to help. I mean, I know a lot of people who think the private sector is going to save us from climate change. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
yeah.
No, it's not.
It's like, what are all the immigrants that are coming into this country? Are they all being shipped to swing states? Like they complain a
No.
lot about like migrants in California. It's like, what is that on the brink of going red
Right.
anytime soon? It's just like,
Or is California even dragged down by its immigrant population
Right.
whatsoever? No. It's
No.
still the economic backbone of the entire country and by extension, the world.
Yeah,
So show
it's-
some
it's-
respect.
right? Are or like are they? I mean, for the states that have large farming communities or agriculture and whatnot, are those deep red states in danger of flipping blue anytime soon as well? So, like the you move to this country, you immigrate, you become a bit more naturalized, you adapt to your surroundings. These communities, say if they go to like a state with large agriculture or farming or whatever, because that's where a lot of immigrants coming from the southern border go. They're going to adapt to the communities there, and
Yes.
those communities are not Democrat,
No.
largely not at all.
No.
It's like the
A lot of
fear-
first generation immigrants now are going conservative, man. A lot of
Yeah,
first
yeah,
generation
yeah.
immigrants are going
Oh.
conservative because they have this attitude of like, we got here first. We got here, and now you're
Strong
trying to
work
come
ethic.
and you're giving me a bad reputation. And it's like, no, they're not. But they
Yeah,
won't listen, and that's what pop culture media tells them is the case, and so that's what they believe. And it's just this vicious cycle of white trash ignorance that's spreading
Yeah.
across cultures and across
Yeah.
tribes, and it makes me nervous. It makes me wonder if when you were younger and the reason why I didn't get into politics sooner, I went into Hollywood and entertainment. I had to decide between grad schools, and I was either going to get into politics or I was going to get into TV and film. I decided on TV and film, partly because I thought Obama was going to handle business. I also thought that W was so bad that the Republicans would never win the White House for like 40 years. And obviously I was wrong on both accounts. And those are two big reasons why I'm here.
Yeah. Thanks,
talking to you
Obama.
right now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just the immigrant, just when it comes to immigrants in general and all the fear mongering from the right, all the rhetoric, it's just completely unfounded.
And it also shows you, if you're a Democrat, that you should just do what's in the best interests of the country, regardless of what popular opinion may or may not be, because the Republicans have already asserted themselves as the cruel party, as the party of cruelty toward others.
Uh-huh.
And you're not going to outdo them on being cruel to immigrants. But you could actually do what we're talking about, give them a path of citizenship, and then they're voting for you for the rest of your life. And maybe those places like Texas and, Arizona become more blue. Maybe, I don't know, with immigrant populations.
Right.
But there has to be a better representation in terms of voices. There is no voice for the immigrants in America, and there
Yeah.
needs to be. There needs to be some sort of figurehead, or preferably a handful, like a 3 to 5 person panel or something that's like respected as the voice of immigrants in America, because they have no voice.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why they are so vulnerable to Trump's rhetoric, is that they have no voice.
Yeah.
Who speaks for the immigrants?
Yeah.
Who? Nobody.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nobody.
And she's always going to want
Why?
open borders. That's the $64,000 question. Why? I have no idea. Maybe they hate our country.
One of the elements of the border has brought in
God.
Tren de Aragua, this Venezuelan
Yeah,
Yeah.
gang.
They hate
that's
our
dangerous.
country
You
so
told us
much
this,
they're
right?
coming
It's not
here.
quite. You could take the word. It's just pure dangerous. They're evil.
And you told us this back in 2015 and
Yeah.
2016, that Venezuela was emptying their
Surge.
prisons and they were coming here, and you were mocked for it.
Not even
How did you know
true.
back then that these Venezuelan gangs were coming to America?
Common sense. It's just common sense. If
Common
I'm running
sense. What
Venezuela
does that
like
even mean? Because they're
Venezuela-
Venezuelan?
Yes.
Give me a fucking break, dude.
That is
God
common
damn.
sense to them. Their
It's just-
racism
it's
and their
just-
xenophobia
it's just
is common
racism,
sense
yeah.
to them. It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
They use their
Booga
xenophobia
booga.
and their white trash ignorance to justify their miserable existence. Let me tell you something, guys. The MAGA people, they're not happy people.
Nope.
They're not fulfilled people.
They can't be.
They're not. They might put on a facade, and when you meet them, oh yeah, I got it all figured out. I'm conservative. I ain't no pussy. I ain't no left-wing bitch. That
Yeah.
whole thing, the tough guy bullshit. The tough guy cries when no one's looking.
Yeah.
The tough guy is lonely,
Hmm.
and the tough chick, I guess, the
I've seen
female
it.
equivalent, whatever,
Yeah.
they're lonely as hell too.
Hmm.
They do
Yeah.
everything out of fear. They never explore. They never do anything that's really exceptional. They
Yeah.
might think that they do, but they haven't explored the world. They don't know what's
Right.
out there,
Yeah.
and they never will.
Nope.
They never will.
Yeah.
Becoming very rich because we're buying oil from Venezuela. You can believe this? We have more liquid gold under our feet than anybody else, and we're buying oil from
Liquid
Venezuela.
gold?
No.
He's emptying out
No.
his
We
prisons, but he's emptying
Venezuela
out
has
Venezuela. It's
the largest
all over
reserves in the world.
The Congo in Africa. We've taken in hundreds of people from their prisons. The Congo, all the way in Africa. Many countries.
Hundreds?
The Middle East. We're taking in massive
what?
numbers of people, and many terrorists, and they're coming into our country, and they're Middle Eastern terrorists. And from Asia, we're taking in, and a lot from South America.
There was an
They're-
Afghan refugee charged with plotting a U.S. Election Day massacre.
Nothing surprises me.
What about that, though? Are you expecting chaos on Election Day?
No, I don't think so. Not from the side that votes for Trump.
But I'm just wondering if these outside agitators will start up on Election Day. Let's say you win. I mean, let's
Worked
remember the
for
50,000
CIA
Chinese
in
nationals in this country in the
Afghanistan.
last couple of years.
Yeah.
You have people on the terrorist watch list, 350 in the last couple of years. You got, like you said, 13,000 murderers and 15,000 rapists.
Right.
What are you expecting? Joe Biden said he doesn't think it's going to be a peaceful Election Day.
Well, he doesn't have any idea what's happening in all fairness. He spends most of his day sleeping. I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. By the way,
Mental
totally destroying our
illness
country.
rates
The
on
towns, the
libs
villages,
versus
the inundated.
conservatives. Well, the thing about that, Megan, is I don't think conservatives are going to be more open about expressing mental illness problems and whatnot, and things
Vulnerability is not their thing.
no. So, like, I mean, you probably won't ever really get really accurate rates on that. Tell them about how conservative women never explore cam. You're
What did
funny.
you say? What?
Megan's conservative, and she's like,
Oh.
tell him about how conservative women never explore cam. Yeah, sure.
I don't think they're the problem in terms of election day. I think the bigger problem are the people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
Yeah,
Because
this
they
is
can't let
another
that happen.
thing.
I'm Steve Doocy. I'm Brian
Yeah,
Kilmeade.
And I mean,
so
Mark, and click here to
Christ,
subscribe to
dude.
the Fox News YouTube page to catch our.
He has now threatened, and that's a taste of it, but he's done it elsewhere, um, to go after leftists
Yeah.
by using the military to go after leftist activists,
Which makes us
and
vulnerable.
arrest. Yeah, like just go and arrest leftist activists just at the whim of the fucking presidency by using the military to go after them. Yeah,
That's one way
but
to
he's the
clear
one
out
that-
the competitive space, dude.
right? God damn! But he's the one being
Like they're gonna
persecuted.
arrest Sam Cedar. They're gonna arrest
God.
Jimmy Dore. No, Jimmy Dore. No, he'll comply. Jimmy
Yeah.
Dore will comply for sure.
Every grievance and complaint and accusation from the conservatives is a confession. Like Trump goes on
Yes.
and on about fucking, oh, I'm being politically persecuted, by Biden and whatnot. They're going after me because they don't like it because I'm a conservative. They're gonna go after you too. Meanwhile, he's just openly admitting that he
It's
was
right-wing
the exact same
projection,
fucking thing.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, no, they and that's a mental health term. So there's an acronym called DARVO, which stands for Deny, Attack, and Reverse Victim and Offender. And that's exactly what guys like, who's that guy, Nick Fuentes,
Yeah.
who talks about white genocide.
Yeah.
And now he's
Nutcase.
anti-Trump because Trump's softening or something, right? Trump's too
Right.
soft for Nick
Yeah.
Fuentes now.
Yeah. Something like
Dude,
that.
if I
yeah.
ever saw Nick Fuentes in person, I would be hard pressed not to get in his face.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that? But I saw on a recent conservative,
You would
I
fold.
think it was that guy Indie Thinkers podcast or whatever, talking about Darvo. It's like, wait a second. Now you're into mental health. Now you're into social psychology. I thought you guys were trying to tear down social psychology. I thought you were trying to tear down these understandings of mental health and struggles that everybody deals with, but medication is not ultimately going to solve.
Yeah.
So yes, right-wing projection is everywhere. And
Yes.
on the right, and
It's
they are
fundamental.
and it's another piece of evidence that proves our overall point that MAGA are nothing more than overgrown children.
Yeah.
That's never respect it that much. American society would have you believe that so many things are more complicated than they are.
Mm-hmm.
MAGA
Yeah.
is not complicated.
Not at all.
It doesn't matter what, if they're white, if they're from the South, if they're a Confederate flag waver, if they're a Bible beater, if they're a gun nut, if they're some other kind of MAGA, okay, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If they're MAGA, they are an underdeveloped human being. They have not gotten there with empathy. They do not know what empathy is. I don't even care
No
if they have
doubt.
kids. That's the toughest ones. The ones who are not white and who have kids. And you're like, you really think Trump cares about you and your family? Are you kidding me? What are
No.
you doing?
Yeah.
But
How
they're
do
out
you-
there, man.
yeah.
They're out there. And a lot of them have YouTube channels.
Right. They don't even care about their own goddamn families, for crying out loud.
Do you want to
Yeah.
see this clip from Kamala? Kamala.
We
Or
I
did
do
you go?
actually, I do have to get going. Dinner's ready, and also it's my brother's birthday, so we're gonna be
Oh,
doing
nice.
a
So I'll
cake
let you go
tradition.
then.
Yeah,
All right.
he just turned 23. But
Nice.
yeah, I might be able to come on tomorrow, but we'll probably talk that.
Oh, I
about that more
probably
after we-
can't. I have lax practice. Let's go
That's
ahead and
fine.
say goodbye to the audience, and then we'll talk for a few minutes.
Sure, no
Um,
problem. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. That was a really good episode. I think we
Yeah.
got down to the nitty gritty with a lot of issues facing this election. I'm going to be back on, if not tomorrow, definitely Thursday and maybe Friday as well, with a little morning bro and comments on the election. I'm going to try to record something every day between now and the election, but no guarantees, obviously.
Right.
So go ahead, Stat Pat, and I'll close us out.
Yeah, no, thanks to you guys for joining in. I had a few consistent viewers. Means a whole hell of a lot. The election's coming near, so If you're not registered to vote, you should be. If you're not convincing others around you to register to vote, you should be as well. And probably see me again. If not tomorrow, then perhaps sometime next week for sure. Because it's right
Getting
around the
tight.
corner, folks. Yep.
20
Yep.
days.
Really
20
is.
days. All right,
Insane.
reminding you and everybody else that you don't get change in America by asking nicely. So stop asking nicely.
Everyone have a good night.
All right.